AITA for cutting ties after my mom disowned me for not buying my sister an apartment? Here I am in my office, staring at my phone screen as if that could actually change anything. Another message from my mom. Another attempt to make me feel guilty. The same thing all over again. Jenna, seriously. Your sister needs a place. You have several properties. Do not be like this. What no longer surprises me is the audacity. What still impresses me is the persistence. I block her number and she finds a way to email me. I block that email and she writes from another one. I remove her from social media, and suddenly a comment appears from a new account with a generic profile picture and a fake name, as if I would not know who is behind it, always asking for the same thing. Give one of your apartments to Lily. And you know why I refuse so firmly. We have to go back 20 years. I was 6 when my world broke. It was a normal afternoon, the kind that smelled of reheated food and half-hearted homework. My mom sat me down in the living room. I remember her face was pale, as if she had not slept. She was twisting her wedding ring over and over, as if by doing so she could undo what she was about to say. Jenna, your father and I are not going to be together anymore. I did not understand right away. I thought it was like when they fought over silly things when my dad would go silent and my mom would lock herself in their room. But this time was different. I fell in love with someone else. She blurted it out without looking at me much. Your dad is going to move out. And that is when I understood. Not with words but with my body. The wind was knocked out of me. That same week I watched my dad pack. I stood in the hallway doorway, clutching a pillow like a life raft. He was putting away shirts, shoes, and papers while my mom stood anxiously by the entrance, checking the time every 5 minutes. He already called. Please hurry up, she would say, as if it were all just a formality. My dad knelt in front of me and tucked my hair behind my ear with a patience that I always felt was difficult for him. I am still going to see you, my princess, he said. Promise. I nodded, but I did not know what to do with the lump in my throat. My mom wasted no time. The divorce was barely finalized when she was already marrying Steve. Steve moved into the house as if it had always been his, and overnight, my house stopped feeling like mine. The drawings I stuck to the fridge with magnets disappeared. In their place, a printed sheet with Steve's schedule appeared, with little boxes and tiny letters. My colorful cereal, the one that made me happy even though my dad said it was pure sugar, was gone one day. The pantry was filled with granola, oatmeal, and some sugar-free cookies that tasted like cardboard. We need to eat healthier, my mom would say with that strange smile, as if I were overreacting for missing my cereal. It was as if someone had taken my life and rearranged it just a little bit wrong. On purpose. It was not one huge change, it was a bunch of small changes that pull the rug out from under you. My dad started depositing child support. No checks, nothing romantic, just a monthly deposit, punctual as clockwork. He tried to see me when he could, but his job kept him running around. We had outings, yes, but they grew shorter and shorter. Every visit was interrupted by calls. It is a meeting, he would tell me, looking guilty. It is a client. It is an urgent matter. I would watch him answer with a distant look in his eyes and bite my tongue to keep from complaining, because even though it hurt, at least he was trying. When I was 8, Lily was born. I remember the hospital corridor perfectly. I was waiting with my grandmother. Through the glass, I saw my mom with a baby in her arms. Steve was smiling like he had won an award. My mom did not see me, or if she did, it did not matter. In that moment, I understood that I was no longer the center of anything. I became the extra one. From then on, my name became synonymous with nuisance. Jenna, keep it down. The baby is sleeping. Jenna, go to your room. Your mom needs to be with the baby. Jenna, we cannot help you with your homework right now. Lily has a fever. Jenna, eat in your room tonight. The baby is fussy and needs quiet. I had a roof over my head and food, yes. I never lacked the basics, but affection, patience, that feeling that someone truly cares about you, that was a luxury I was not afforded. My room became both my refuge and my punishment. I spent my time in there doing homework, reading, staring at the ceiling, learning not to make noise, learning to make myself small. Steve did not even pretend to like me. If I walked into a room, he would let out a huff. Kids, he would mutter, as if I were an unavoidable annoyance. Once I heard him say softly, baggage from the past, and my ears burned as if he had shouted it at me. And at night, when the house fell silent, the thin walls let everything through. "That girl should live with her father," Steve would say in a dry voice. "She has no place here just walking around with that sad face. She even makes Lily uncomfortable." My mom would reply in a harsh whisper, trying to keep me from hearing. But of course I heard. "We cannot send her away. Mark's child support helps us. You saw how much Lily's dance classes cost and the mortgage and everything." Those conversations taught me my place without needing any explanation. I was not a daughter. I was a bank deposit, a number that arrived each month and helped them pay for things. A necessary formality. Every time I heard them, I felt something inside me harden, as if my heart were building a suit of armor to endure it all. And over the years, that armor became almost impossible to break. As I grew up, the distance between me and my mom's family became a chasm. Every summer was a slap in the face. They would pack their bags to go to the beach, to Galveston or South Padre Island, or they would plan trips to Six Flags, or take pictures on their way to a hotel, and they would send me to my dad's as if it were the easy option. "We cannot afford an extra ticket, Jenna," my mom would say without looking at me properly. "But you will have a good time with your dad, right?" And the truth is, I did have a good time with my dad. In his own way. Even though his phone never stopped vibrating, even though he would sometimes fall silent, staring into space because he was thinking about work, he would sit with me at breakfast, a chocolate milkshake on the table, some pastries, and his face full of guilt. "Forgive me, my princess," he would repeat. "The company is growing and I have to be available, but look what I brought you." And he would pull out a new console, a gadget, something he felt could compensate for his absence. I clearly remember the day he gave me my first good laptop, a MacBook. I did not even really know what it was, but when I opened it, his eyes lit up as if he had finally done something right. "This is for all those weekends I let you down," he said. "I know it does not fix it." "It is perfect, Dad," I replied, and I meant it. Not because of the laptop, but because of the way the tension in his face eased when I hugged him. But my happiness was short-lived. The day I came home with that MacBook, a storm brewed. "It is not fair," Lily shrieked, her face red. "I want one." Back then she was just a kid, 8 years younger than me, and she barely knew how to use a computer, but she cried as if something that belonged to her had been taken away. My mom looked at me as if I had done something wrong. "Look what you have caused," she said through her teeth. Steve stood in a corner with his arms crossed, glaring at me as if I were to blame for everything. The pattern was always the same. Lily would throw a tantrum. My mom and Steve would get tense. They would pace the house like caged lions, and within a week, they would end up buying her the same thing. It did not matter if she was too young for it, if she did not need it, if it was an absurd expense. She had to have exactly what I had. They would buy it on an installment plan, pay with a credit card, and then complain they were short on money. One time was worse, with a very expensive tablet my dad had bought me for school. Lily threw a tantrum for 3 days straight. 3 days. Screaming, crying, slamming doors. "I hate you," she yelled at me. "You always get better things." I locked myself in my room as usual and tried to become invisible. But that night I heard my mom on the phone, furious. "Mark, that is enough," she said in a tone I had never heard her use with me. "Your gifts are causing problems here. Lily gets upset and we cannot keep matching everything you buy. Either you buy for both of them or you buy for neither." The following weekend my dad picked me up, looking more serious than usual. We went to a mall and sat down for a milkshake. He looked at me intently, as if preparing for an uncomfortable conversation. "Jenna," he said, "your mom called me about the gifts." My stomach sank. "I am sorry, Dad," I blurted out. "I do not want to cause trouble." He reached out and squeezed my fingers. "No, my princess, you did not do anything wrong. But I do think we need to be smarter about this. I am not going to give you expensive things just like that anymore." I nodded, swallowing my disappointment, trying to look mature. And then he smiled, a small secret-like smile. "Instead of that," he said, lowering his voice, "I opened a college savings fund for your education. I have been building it up over time. By the time you finish high school, you will be able to study wherever you want." I stared at him, not blinking. "Really? Really? But this stays between you and me, okay? Do not tell your mom or anyone. It is your future and it is yours." That day, for the first time, I felt I had something they could not take away from me, something that would not provoke a tantrum or an argument, something that was mine. The day I graduated from high school arrived. It was supposed to be a happy moment, but at my house there was no party, no excitement, nothing. A week later, the four of us were sitting at the dining room table. I was pushing food around my plate, not hungry, and my mom cleared her throat with that sound I knew all too well. The sound of "Here it comes." "Jenna," she said, "now that you have finished high school, we need to talk." I already knew. My mom had been eyeing my room for weeks, measuring it with her gaze as if she had already decided. "Lily needs her own space now," she continued. "She is 10, she is growing up, and your room would be perfect for her. It is time for you to become independent." Steve nodded quickly, as if he had been asked a question on a test. Lily fidgeted in her chair, excited, as if she were already picturing her things in my room. I took a slow breath, drank some water, and kept my expression neutral. "Actually," I said, "I was planning on leaving anyway. I start college in a few months." My mom's eyes widened. "College, Jenna? We cannot afford that. You know how things are." "My dad is going to pay for it," I replied, looking at them one by one. It was like watching their expressions change in real time. My mom instantly relaxed. Steve let out a breath. Lily's mouth turned down in confusion. "Oh," my mom said, and she even sounded relieved. "Well, that is great then. That is great." Just like that, as if my future were one less problem for them. The next day I started packing. My room, which already felt borrowed, was quickly emptied. I had never been allowed to hang posters. "Do not damage the paint, Jenna," they would say. "We will have to fix it later." As I put my clothes into boxes, I heard through the wall what a daughter is never supposed to hear. Finally, Steve said with a joy that turned my stomach, "We will not have to deal with Mark's daughter anymore. And besides, the child support is ending." "Yes," my mom replied. I was worried she might stay longer. This worked out perfectly for us. I froze, a blouse in my hand. I did not cry. Not that time. I just felt something click into place inside me, like a drawer finally closing shut. I understood they were not letting me go. They were getting rid of me. My dad did something that I am still grateful for when I think about it. He took a full week off, a whole week, the first in years. And without telling me beforehand, he took me on a trip. Not somewhere international or anything, just to San Diego. And for a couple of days we drove along the coast because he had seen videos and swore we were going to learn to surf. "Before you start college, I want us to have some time," he told me, squeezing my hand on the plane. Real time. And for the first time in a long time, his phone stayed in his bag. It did not ring, it did not vibrate, it did not exist. We got sunburned like rookies. We laughed trying to stand up on the surfboards and falling off every time. We ate grilled fish and other street foods, and sat on the boardwalk watching people go by, talking about simple things, as if that too were a luxury. At night, from the hotel balcony, we watched the sky turn orange, and my dad would be quiet for a little while, as if searching for the right words. One of those nights he looked at me and said softly, "I am sorry it took me so long to do this." I rested my head on his shoulder. "You are here now," I replied. That was enough. College felt like breathing fresh air after being locked up for years. I moved into a shared apartment near campus with 2 other girls. No perfect dorms. It was a small place with a cramped kitchen and a bathroom that was always occupied, but it was mine. My life for the first time was my own. I knew my dad could support me without any problem, but I wanted to stand on my own 2 feet. So I got a job at a coffee shop on campus, a simple place called The Daily Grind. We sold coffee, pastries, and the classic sandwich that no one ever buys, but it is there. "Jenna, you do not have to work," my dad told me on the phone once. "I can send you money every month." "I know, Dad," I replied while wiping down a table. "But I want to. I like feeling that what I have is something I have earned, too." Between classes, homework, shifts at the coffee shop, and nights in the library, I built a life that did not depend on my mom or Steve or Lily. My coworkers became friends, I respected my professors, and slowly, that old weight I had been carrying began to loosen. My dad, meanwhile, continued to succeed. He bought a big house in a quiet area in Plano. Every time I visited on vacation, I realized how different it felt to be in a place where no one wanted to hide me. I had my own room there, a real room. I painted it how I wanted, put up photos, hung things on the walls. No one told me I was going to ruin the paint. He even gave me a key. This is your home too, he said. Come whenever you want, even if I am not here. Sometimes at night we would watch a movie in his living room with the big screen. Sometimes we would sit by the pool and he would tell me about his plans, ideas, projects. His head was always full, but with me he tried to slow down. When you graduate, I have something special for you, he would say with a mysterious smile. Dad, just paying for my college is already so much, I would answer. He would just shake his head and change the subject, as if he did not want me to know anything. While I was building my life, my mom's continued to revolve without me. Her Facebook, her Instagram, everything was an altar for Lily. Dance recitals, festivals, trips, photos with balloons. Sometimes an uncle would comment, and Jenna? Haven't heard from her in a while. And my mom would reply as if I were a distant acquaintance. She is fine living her life. She did not know I was getting high grades every semester. She did not know I had received an award for my performance. She had no idea what I was studying, who my friends were, or what I liked. In her story, I was a blank space and she was comfortable with that. I threw myself into my studies. I joined a business club. I started tutoring younger students in economics, and my professors talked to me about options for graduate school. For the first time, I saw a clear path ahead. I was already well into my degree when, out of sheer habit, I saw a photo from Lily's 12th birthday. The house was filled with balloons, ribbons, and cake, and my mom had tagged the entire family except for me. Time flies, our princess is growing up so fast, the caption read. I stared at the photo for a moment, then closed the app. That night, as I pulled down the metal shutter of the coffee shop, I realized something. It did not hurt like it used to. I did not feel that emptiness. I felt a lightness, as if I had finally put down a heavy bag I had been carrying for years. I graduated on a sunny day. My dad, Mark Thompson, was there, the one who cheered the loudest when they called my name. I saw him from the stage and my chest tightened, but with emotion. After the ceremony, while everyone was taking pictures, he pulled me aside for a moment. Close your eyes and hold out your hands, he said. I felt something metallic fall into my palm. I opened my eyes. A set of keys and an envelope. What is this? I asked, opening the envelope. Inside was an address. Your graduation gift, he said. An apartment in your name in the uptown neighborhood. Furnished. All set. I burst into tears right there uncontrollably. I hugged him tightly. Dad, this is too much. Nothing is too much for my princess, he answered, holding me as if he wanted to keep me safe in his heart. The apartment was perfect. Modern, bright, quiet. I got a job at a marketing agency and settled into a nice routine. Coffee in the morning, normal city traffic, meetings, projects, adult life, and for the first time, peace. I hardly ever thought about my mom or Steve or Lily, until the phone call came that split my life in two. My dad called me one day with a voice that was not his own. It was lower, slower, as if the strength had been drained from his throat. The test results came back, he said. It is cancer. Stage 3 in the pancreas. I just sat on the couch staring at the wall. How? Was the only thing I could manage to say. The next 2 years were a blur. Hospital, chemo, appointments, tests, waiting rooms that smelled of disinfectant. Seeking second opinions, exploring options, hearing words I never wanted to learn. Watching my dad, the man I thought was invincible, grow thinner, more tired, quieter. He fought, we both fought, but some things are non-negotiable. On a rainy Tuesday morning, with my hand in his, my dad passed away. He was 54. I went through the motions on autopilot. Paperwork, funeral home, phone calls, notifications. I posted something on social media, more out of obligation than hope, and I tagged my mom. Her reply came hours later, dry and cold. I am sorry, but I cannot make it. I am busy. Lily has a dance performance that day. In the midst of my pain, I was not even surprised. I just felt an immense exhaustion. Days later, I was summoned to my dad's attorney's office. My dad's lawyer, a serious man who had known him for years, received me respectfully. I thought it would be just another formality, but when he opened the will, I was speechless. My dad's company, his house, investments, properties, apartments, everything was left in my name. My dad never remarried, and I was his only child, so there was no doubt who he wanted to leave it to. The lawyer gave me a letter he had written. Jenna, I built all of this for you, my princess. It hurts me that I will not be here to see what you do with it, but I know you will do something good. Take care of yourself first and then if you can, help others. I love you with all my love, your dad, Mark Thompson. I stood there, trembling, holding the letter. I did not feel rich. I felt responsible and alone. But I also felt supported by him, even from wherever he was. I did not have the experience to run a company like that, not right away. So I asked Daniel Hayes, my dad's trusted director of operations, to take over as CEO. I will guide you, Daniel told me. We will take it one step at a time. Your dad wanted you to be okay. And I believed him. Over time, I found a way to honor him that made sense to me. I created a foundation to support cancer patients and their families. Not for photos and applause, but something real. Support, companionship, guidance, help so they would not feel alone. A few months passed, and when I could finally breathe a little without feeling guilty, we launched the foundation. The day we presented it, I stood in front of everyone, my voice tight but steady. No one should have to fight this alone, I said. And thanks to the Mark Thompson Memorial Foundation, we will be there for them. That night in my apartment, I looked at the picture of my dad on my desk. I hope you are proud, I whispered. The company was doing well with Daniel at the helm. The foundation was starting to help families, and I, in the midst of all that pain, was still standing. And then one Sunday afternoon my phone rang. The name on the screen took my breath away. Mom. Since I left at 18, she had never truly tried to contact me. 9 years without a phone call. 9 years in which I was a silence to her. And now there she was, as if nothing had happened. I answered, more out of surprise than desire. Jenna, she said, her voice different, older, more strained. Can you come over? It is important. I should have said no. My body knew it before my head did, but I still said yes. I drove over on a Sunday, thinking I would avoid the worst of the traffic. Still, crossing the city is always a journey. And as I got on the highway toward the northern suburbs, the knot in my stomach was already tightening. Driving to that house felt like entering a strange dream. The same street, the same facade, the same knot. My mom opened the door, and I barely recognized her. She looked worn out. Not in a dramatic way, but in a real way. Deep wrinkles, dull skin, pained eyes. Steve was behind her, as serious as ever. And there was Lily, now 19, looking at me with curiosity, as if I were an unexpected guest. I went inside. The living room was the same. The same furniture, the same photos, all of Lily, framed and large, as if the house were her museum. My mom sat down carefully, as if every movement hurt her. I need surgery, she said without beating around the bush. Several operations. My joints are wearing out. If I do not get treatment, I could end up unable to walk properly. She wrung her hands. Just like that afternoon when I was 6. I heard about what Mark left you, she added. The company, the properties. There it was. The real reason. Steve, his jaw tight, joined the conversation. We cannot afford it, he said. The insurance does not cover everything. Between deductibles and out-of-pocket costs and what the hospital is charging. We cannot do it. It is a lot of money, over $100,000. I looked at my mom, the woman who had snuffed out my childhood, who had made me feel like a burden, who did not go to my father's funeral. But she was also my mother. And as absurd as it sounds, some threads do not break easily. I heard myself say, I will pay for it. My mom burst into tears right there. She got up as best she could and gave me an awkward, tight, uncomfortable hug. The first hug in years. Stay for dinner, she said through her tears. We have so much to catch up on. The dinner was strange, as if we were acting out a family that did not exist. Between bites, my mom and Steve asked me questions that sounded casual but were not. So how many properties did he leave you, exactly? Is the company doing well? Are you selling anything? Are you getting good rental income? Lily barely spoke, just observed with those attentive eyes that reminded me of myself as a child, listening from behind a wall. When I left, I drove in silence and wondered if I had done the right thing. I could help, I could afford it. And as much as it angered me to admit it, a part of me still wanted to believe that this time would be different, that maybe this time they would finally see me. The next day, I called the hospital and arranged to pay for everything. I made the transfers, signed what I had to sign, and told myself that whatever happened, I had done what my dad would have wanted, not to become the same cold people who hurt me. The The surgeries went well. I paid every bill without question. And a few months later my mom was walking normally. That is when the invitations started. Jenna, come for lunch on Sunday. Jenna, we are having a barbecue. Jenna, Lily misses you. Every visit was like walking on broken glass. My mom would talk about my childhood as if it had been wonderful, as if nothing had ever happened. If I let slip a sentence that touched on the real past, she would quickly change the subject. Steve would casually drop questions about my dad's company. Lily would look at me with a strange mixture of expectation, perhaps, and something else I could not name. We are a family again, my mom would say, taking my hand across the table. But when she said it, her eyes would not meet mine. They would slide away, as if she could not hold my gaze. One day, the invitation to Lily's 20th birthday arrived. I decided to make an effort. I told myself that even if we were not close, I could make a nice gesture. I bought her the newest iPhone, the best model. Not to show off, but because I knew she would genuinely like it. And deep down, because I wanted to close that distance once and for all, even if it was with something simple. The party was small, just the four of us. No friends of Lily, no cousins, no aunts. My mom said she wanted something intimate. I did not question it at the time, but later I understood why. Lily opened the gift, and her disappointment was obvious, though she tried to hide it. It did not work. Oh, thanks, she said, and set it aside without opening the box. She looked over at my mom as if expecting something else. I sat there, my smile frozen on my face. Later we had dinner, and in the middle of the meal, my mom took a deep breath as if gathering courage. That gesture, that pause, I knew it. Jenna, my love, she began in a sweet voice, too sweet. The phone is beautiful, really, but we were thinking that you could give Lily something a little more substantial. I froze with my fork halfway to my mouth. What do you mean? My mom exchanged a look with Steve. One of those looks that communicate an agreement without words. Well, you see, she continued, we know your dad left you several apartments. Lily is almost done with college. It would be so nice for her to have her own place to start her life. You have so many, surely you can give one to your sister. The silence felt heavy. Steve looked down at his plate as if that would absolve him of the shame. Lily leaned forward, her eyes shining like a child in front of a birthday cake. I understood everything in a flash. The invitations, the meals, the we are a family again. It was not affection. It was a path leading to this conversation. I carefully set down my fork. No, I said without raising my voice. I am not gifting an apartment to anyone. My mom's sweet smile cracked a little. But Jenna, she is your sister. Your dad would have wanted. No, I cut her off. Do not you dare tell me what my dad would have wanted. The temperature in the room dropped. My mom's face turned red. Lily leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. You are so inconsiderate, my mom snapped, all the sugar gone from her voice. Lily deserves no, I repeated, standing up. What I deserve is not to be used for money. Not today, not ever. My mom slammed her hands on the table. The plates rattled. How ungrateful you are, she yelled. After everything we did for you. You are just like your father, cold and inconsiderate. Lily flinched slightly. Steve stood up, looming, trying to impose himself with his presence alone. But I was no longer that girl locked in my room. Everything you did for me? I replied firmly. Like kicking me out at 18 the second the child support ended? Like treating me like a guest in my own house? Like making me feel like a burden ever since Lily was born? You were never part of this family, my mom screamed. You were always in the way, always causing problems. And then the argument escalated as she crossed a line and moved toward me aggressively. I stopped her and said slowly, without shouting, if you touch me, I will file a police report, and I will also hand this over to my lawyers. Do not push me because I will absolutely demand reimbursement for what I paid. The color drained from her face. Steve took a step back, as if suddenly remembering this could have consequences. Lily's mouth hung open. You would not dare, my mom whispered, looking smaller, more afraid. Try me, I said. I am not that little girl you could push around anymore. I grabbed my purse and walked to the door. Before leaving, I turned back one last time. Do not call me again. Do not write to me. Do not ask relatives to send me messages. We are done. That was over a year ago. Since then, the messages have not stopped. And yet, here I am today looking at my phone. Reading another message from my mom that pops up as if nothing happened. They started a week after that dinner. At first, they were angry, then pleading, then filled with tearful apologies. Please, Jenna, we are family. Your sister misses you. We can fix this. Every time I block an account, another one appears. A new profile, a stolen photo, a fake name, as if changing the mask erases the intention. Sometimes a small, treacherous doubt creeps in, wondering if I am being too harsh, if I should give them another chance. And then I remember my dad's letter. I remember, take care of yourself first. That is what I am doing. The company continues to grow with Daniel in charge. The foundation helps families who are going through what I went through. My life has meaning, it has direction, it has people who are there for me, not for what I can give them. Yesterday, an invitation to Lily's graduation arrived. Inside was a handwritten note from my mom. Please come. We can start over. I looked at it for 2 seconds. Then I put it through the shredder without a second thought. They say blood is thicker than water, but I learned something the hard way. Family is not the one that makes demands of you. It is the one that takes care of you. And that family is the one that is worth it. Comment. After sharing this story, I felt the need to speak to you from the heart. Protecting your peace is never selfish. In fact, it's one of the most responsible things you can do. Learning to set firm boundaries shows real self-respect, and sometimes choosing your own healing is the kindest choice you can make. You deserve relationships filled with genuine care and respect. Taking care of yourself first gives you the strength to be there for the right people. True family and friends lift you up instead of constantly pulling you down. I hope this encourages you to reflect on your own boundaries and needs. Ultimately, choosing your well-being is the foundation for a calmer and happier life. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.